people. I hope your fantasy week, your first fantasy week, was as good as mine. I think I'm in about 10, 12 leagues. Don't do that. Too much work. But I won the vast majority of them. Other than losing to my co-host, Young Vander, the fantasy Nostradamus. Holla at the people.
What's going on out there?
Yo, so you guys will be able to see us as well as hear us. So we'll be available on YouTube at the Gospel STP. Again, that's at the Gospel STP. Also, join our Facebook group. You'll be able to see the videos there as well. On Tuesdays, we will have a live show kind of going over what happened the week before. That'll pretty much be about real football. The Wednesday show will still be fantasy. We'll be giving our reactions, our takes from the week that was both NFL and college. So, with that being said, we got a lot to get to. Let's go ahead and hop into it. We're going to start out with your news and notes, talk about some injuries and some replacements. We'll give you a little bit of waiver wire advice. Yo, if you guys listened to the show last week, I got you ahead of the game. I told you to go grab J.K. Dobbins. I told you to grab Jalen Wright. We see the two guys that were ahead of him on the depth chart are now injured. We don't know how bad it's going to be for A-Chain. Hopefully he runs. He runs out there, but Mostart's going to be out this week. I told you to go pick up Jordan Mason last week. Now you may be fighting for him or trying to trade, but getting him at a much steeper price. So, we try to make sure that you are prepared ahead of time. If you're early, a lot of times that's better than being on time, because sometimes when you're on time, it ends up costing you a little bit in fantasy. So let's start out with our quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, he was dealing with an undisclosed issue, but he's not on the injury report, so he should be good to go. Joe Burrow, he's downplaying the issue with his surgically repaired wrist, indicating that that had nothing to do with him not throwing the ball downfield. Maybe that had more to do with my Patriots defense than it had to do with his wrist. I don't wish injury on anyone. So I hope that that is the case and he's going to be just fine. I know a lot of us are dependent on Joe Burrow, dependent on Jamar Chase. Hopefully T. Higgins comes back around and Cincinnati will be good to go. Russell Wilson, we know he didn't go last week. Justin Fields ended up in his stead, still dealing with a calf injury, and his coach has already indicated that Justin is going to be the one running out there this week. My question for you, as far as this is concerned, Vander, is this a dress rehearsal for the rest of the season? If they win again, is it a, well, we're winning with them, so why switch it up now? Or when Wilson is actually healthy, do you think they're going to put Wilson back in? Because that's something else that we may want to get ahead of if anyone is in a situation where they're using Fields.
I actually think that Wilson can still get back in the chair due to the performance. I mean, yeah, they won, but was it because of Fields? No, I don't think so. It's not like he played well. So, I mean, the defense is playing very well. So just because they're winning games, I don't think that's enough unless he is part of the reason why they're winning the games. So if he goes out there and play well, then that may be more of a reason to keep him in the chair. But if they just winning games on based on the defense and he's not performing, then I think it's Wilson's job when he gets back healthy.
Deshaun Watson is in hot water again. As of right now, the NFL is saying that they aren't going to put him on the commissioner's exempt list, which would forfeit either the season or several games until his situation is resolved. The only thing that I can say that the saving grace in this whole situation is this is an incident as bad as it sounds. It was an incident from 2020, so it's not a new case, if you will. Well, it's a new case, but it's not a new incident. I'll put it that way. Hopefully, it was something that he disclosed to his team or the NFL, because one of the things that were said originally was if all issues and items pertaining to anything involving anything in this realm weren't disclosed, then that could be grounds for him to have avoided contract, first of all, from the Browns, which the way he's playing right now, I don't know if the Browns would be too upset about that. So, um, this question is about football, not the case. would the Browns be better off with that contract being voided at this point, and maybe go ahead and giving Jameis Winston an opportunity now, and then figuring out whatever happens later? Deshaun doesn't look like even 50% of the guy that he was in Houston, and I don't know what has happened to him on the field, but he looks like a rookie all over again. He's indecisive, making bad decisions. What's going on with him?
Well, firstly, in my opinion, I think the Browns is the people behind this whole press. Think about it. It's the timing is so perfect. I mean, I'm pretty sure somewhere his contract is, look, we don't need to hear any more of these. If any of these things come out, we can void X amount of dollars. He went out there, poor performance, like you said. He's not looking like what they invested in. And then all of a sudden, at the week one, the next day, a lady comes out. Like from years ago. Nothing new from years ago. So you mean to tell me she didn't come out with the other 15 people that came out? She just decided to wait, and now I'm going to come out on my own? After week one, after a poor performance, I think the Browns got something to do with this one, man. I think they're going to find a way to get from under this because everybody's saying this is the worst contract of all time.
It is.
And they're going to find a way to get from under this thing. I promise you. I think they're behind it. It's a big thing.
The reason I would give that some credence is because any lawyer worth his or her salt would not wait until there's football being played to have this conversation if they wanted to get maximum press, because people are going to be more so interested in football versus whatever news is going around. So if this was something that you were going to do and you were planning on bringing it out, you should have done that before football season, because it would have been the talk of the town again. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes, but I wouldn't say that you're wrong. We'll find out if you're right, but I wouldn't say you're wrong. Jordan Love is still dealing with an injury from playing on that horrible field in Brazil, dealing with a knee issue. It's been stated that it's a knee issue. Originally, it was thought that it may have been an ankle injury, but at any rate, he's injured. Good news is there's talk right now that they haven't ruled out him being back this week. I don't think he's going to play this week, but the fact that they're saying that it could happen and he isn't on IR, that kind of tells me that he's probably worst case scenario going to give it a go in week 3. I don't believe that Malik Willis is going to be able to do very much in that backup role. We'll kind of see how that works out. But if Jordan Love is back in week 3, do you think that that's a good thing for him in Green Bay, or do you think he should probably give this issue a little bit more time, with it being a grade 1, grade 2 MCL sprain is what it's been labeled as?
I guess it depends on if this thing can get worse, because you got some injuries. It can't get no worse than what it is. Technically, in is a Jordan Love at 75% better than 100% Malik Willis?
Yep.
What gives the team a better chance to win? I don't think he's going to play if he's injured. So there's a difference between being injured and being hurt. I think if he's hurt, he possibly, if he feel like he can go, he probably will. But if he's injured, I don't think he's going to push it. They just invested much dollars into this guy, so I don't think they're going to put him out there unless he's capable.
Got several running backs that have the injury blues. Kenneth Walker, he exited the last part of the game on this past week. He's dealing with the oblique injury. Right now, he's being considered as day-to-day, so they're kind of trying to figure out what's going to go on there. Do you think that Zach Charbonnet is someone that you should grab and hold on to? Or even if Walker is out, you probably wouldn't want to start him against any of the competition that they have coming up here in the next couple of weeks?
Why not? Why not grab Charbonnet? Because Kenneth Walker's no stranger to injury. Look at it. It's week 1. It's already an issue. And I think he had an oblique issue last year, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. Yeah. It kept him several weeks last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I think, if you was a Kenneth Walker owner, this is a route you should have taken already. There's certain guys like even McCaffrey, a Mostert. We talk about these guys every year. It's always something. These guys are no stranger to getting hurt. So I think you should always have a handcuff, a backup plan in place. So definitely, I think Charbonnet is someone you definitely want to get your hands on.
Do you feel the same way about the backup for one Mr. Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots? He's dealing with some issues, but his backup, Antonio Gibson, is also no stranger to injury, and he's dealing with some hip issues and is limited in practice. So, do you grab both of them and play the hot hand, if you will, or do you not have any faith in Gibson going forward?
No, I'm not really a fan of Gibson. He's not one of those premium handcuffs. I think of, just because someone's a backup doesn't really mean it's a premium guy to hold. I mean, the way that offense is designed, I'm not sure Gibson can beat the guy. They may have someone else come in and have him be a split role. I think what Ramondre doing right now, he's the workhorse. I don't see them taking that same approach if Gibson was to get in the chair. So not so much with Gibson like I am with Charbonnet.
Few other running backs having some issues. Audric Estime, he landed on IR, so the Broncos rookie will be out a minimum of 4 weeks. In the famous words of Young Vander, I've never heard anyone that used to have a back issue. So how are we feeling about Josh Jacobs? He's dealing with a back injury. His running mate, Marshawn Lloyd, who was dealing with a hamstring injury, he is I believe he's limited right now, so he should be on the way back. But your boy Emmanuel Wilson, he looked pretty spry out there when he had the opportunity. Do you go ahead and grab Wilson now, or do you think it's going to be Lloyd's job to lose when he's back in the fold? Or are you not really worried about the back issue with Josh Jacobs because he's not out as of right now?
He's not out as of right now. So, but go ahead and be prepared. I like Lloyd better. I know he sat week 1, but I think just like no different than how I feel about Jalen Wright. I like him better than I like Wilson.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's the guy to own if you're going to own someone in that backfield. So I definitely like Lloyd.
And then another guy that didn't get much run, the number 1 running back in this case, and actually in both of these cases, they didn't get injured or anything of that nature. But in the case of Zach Moss in Cincinnati, also in the case of Kyren Williams with the Rams, they got pretty much total control of that backfield. And I know in the offseason, people were kind of looking forward to seeing what Blake may do in his offense and what Chase may do in his offense. Chase was even getting a good bit of the first team carries in practice and things of that nature. So were you surprised with their lack of usage? I want to say in Blake Corum's case, Ronnie Rivers, I believe is his name. He was the backup last year. He got a few more opportunities in the game than Blake did. I don't think Blake got a carry, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
So is that surprising, or do you think that flips if Kyren Williams was to get hurt and Blake becomes the guy and Ronnie Rivers is still the backup? And as far as Chase is concerned, are you surprised that they only had 6 touches? How do you feel about those 2 situations?
The Chase thing it's a little bit of surprise. I mean, 2 things. I mean, one thing, they did give him a lot of first team reps when he was in practicing, but also, if you pay attention in the preseason, Zach Moss was held out. So they was treating him like a starter in a way, not giving him reps. But Chase was getting the first team reps in practice. So I guess it was kind of tricky. As far as the Blake Corum thing, I know McVay said he liked both of the guys, Rivers and Corum. Again, I look at Corum like I look at Jalen Wright and like I look at Malik Lloyd. They're probably positioned at that 3rd spot. But I think when the rubber needs to meet the road, I think these are the guys that you probably rather own. I'd rather have Blake Corum stock than Rivers stock, if that makes sense. If you look at some of the roster percentages right now, Blake Corum is highly, more owned than a Rivers. So I will go that route still. If I'm making that decision, if I'm a Kyron Williams owner, I still rather have Corum than Rivers.
Few wide receivers that are nicked up already. Tyler Lockett, no stranger to injury. He's dealing with a thigh issue. As far as Seattle is concerned, are you surprised that JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, didn't get quite as much attention or didn't get the results, if you will, this past week? And is he a guy that, and we're going to have a segment of Keep Trade Cut here in just a moment, but while talking about Lockett in Seattle, is Jackson a guy that you may target right now based on what he didn't do in week one, looking at what may happen the rest of the season? Or are we going to see more this year of what we saw last year, even though it's a new offense in time?
I'm definitely surprised. I mean, B2, they were playing the Broncos. I felt like McCaffrey's going to see a whole lot of, in which he did, Surtain. I felt that would be more opportunity for JSN, but it didn't work out that way. I think it's time for us to. I think the Geno Smith project is coming to a head. I think that thing is about to be out of here. It may be time to have Sam Howell, man. I think Sam Howell is the better quarterback as of right now,
especially in that offense.
Right. So I think it's not all JSN. I think some of it's Geno as well. Maybe not looking his way. Maybe did not, but I wouldn't necessarily panic right now as far as JSN, because we all know Lockett will get hurt sometime this season, and that probably elevate him in that offense. So if you look at their schedule, I mean, McCaffrey got some really good matchups. I mean, a lot of number one corners on their schedule. So I wouldn't panic quite yet.
You got Josh Palmer. He's dealing with a knee issue. Josh Reynolds has an Achilles issue that has resurfaced. So the Denver wide receiver has a injury going on there. Puka Nacua, his coach has indicated that he may miss more than 4 games. This is a guy that, depending on the size of your league, he was a back-end first-round talent or second-round talent, and people are already kind of feeling the sting. Obviously, the people that drafted CMC, that was one of the first 3 or 4 picks, just depending on the type of league that you're in. If you're not in the 2 QB league, CMC was he quite possibly could have been the first overall pick. So we have several people that are hurting as far as high-ranking guys that you were kind of making a huge part of your plan that aren't available right now. What's your prognosis on Puka? Who on the team now should pick up his mantle? Is it going to be Robinson, or is it going to be the rookie Whittington? Who you got as far as or is it going to be Parkinson? Because they were throwing the tight end the ball quite a bit in that game as well. But what's your outlook on Puka in that situation?
As far as Puka goes, I mean, if you want to grab a guy, I think you would grab Robinson. Maybe even Tyler Johnson, the speedster, may get a few more looks. But I think this is a bonus for Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's the one that got 21 targets. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's him that's going to really reap the real benefit of this. Because even with Robinson, I don't think it's a huge boost. Even Whittington, we've seen him play well in the preseason. I don't think it's a huge boost to any of those guys. I think Cooper Kupp is the one that really see the increase. That means his target share is about to be outrageous. You know what I'm saying? We probably going to see the Cooper Kupp from a few years ago.
I can definitely see that, but is that a good or bad thing based on the fact that he's no stranger to injury himself? Like, do we want him getting that much attention and so early in the year? I mean, I know it's great for fantasy today, but for the prognosis of the season, do we think he'll actually be able to hold up under getting that much work?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, if you're the Cooper Kupp owner, you love it. I mean, he said this is the healthy he's been in 2 years. He hasn't been healthy the last 2 years. So I think he's at a point now where he feels like I'm 100%. Can he hold the load? I mean, why not? If you're a Cooper Cup owner, you love this. I'm sorry. It's just like it's going to take you back to the Triple Crown season. Like he's going to get peppered. I mean, 21 targets is insane. And then one thing about a Cooper Cup, these are not empty calories. If you watch Stafford and Cup, they're connected. If he have 20 targets, he catching 17 of them. You know what I mean? It's not like a, like a someone like you see like a George Pickens where he get a bunch of targets and he only caught 3 balls out of 10 targets. No, it's not one of those. They have a very high percentage when it comes to those two guys, Stafford and Cup. So yeah, the more targets, the more catches. So I think he's gonna have one of those seasons, man. Now if he gets hurt, then the Winnington and those kind of guys will probably be ideal. So if you're the Cooper Cup owner, grab some of that Winnington stock if you have, because it's funny that running backs have handcuffs, but sometimes receivers have handcuffs as well. True. You know what I mean? So if you're a Cup owner, I think that Winnington stock would not be bad to invest in.
DeAndre Hopkins owners, I know you were disappointed week 1. He was dealing with a knee injury, and his coach is indicating that he should have his full complement of snaps. He just played 17 snaps this past week. So for those of us that went into the week thinking that he was good to go and he would have his regular role, we should see a little bit more of what his role in this offense is going to look like going into this week. So with that being said, is DeAndre Hopkins a guy that you may want to try to go get and try to play up what happened week 1? Or is he a guy that you not very interested in regardless of what happens?
No, I'm good on that. The kind of injury that D-Hop shouldn't even be out there, to be honest with you. He shouldn't be out there. The kind of injury he has, he need to be sitting resting up. I mean, no, I'm out on D-Hop for the rest of the season. Completely. I don't want nothing to do with him. Not at all. Like, because of the type of injury he has, he should not be playing with. He has truly rushed himself back. He's not made of T.O. and Adrian Peterson. He don't got that in him. You know what I'm saying? So he shouldn't even be out there. And I'm not. Stay buyer beware. Just stay away from him. If you gotta sell him, no, I ain't messing with him.
A guy that you may be flocking to, or maybe it's a week 1 fluke. I'm interested to know your take on Jameson Williams. He's dealing with a little bit of an ankle issue, but he was able to practice in a limited capacity. He had a breakout week 1 performance, 5 for 121 and a touchdown on 9 targets. Plus, he had a 13-yard carry. So Detroit is truly trying to give him his full complement, make sure that he's a big part of the game. 2-part question. What's your outlook on Williams? And how do you think this affects St. Brown going forward?
Again, can Williams stay healthy? He's another one of those guys, not stranger to injury. I think St. Brown's going to have his days. I just think it does take away some of the target share. So where he was getting 10 targets, he may get 7. So of course it's going to be a little decline in production due to, because this has so many mouths to feed. They already had a full plate, and now you just brought out dessert. And that's what Jameson Williams is, dessert, because they already had the sides, they had the collards, they got the mac and cheese, they got the turkey. I mean, you got Gibbs, you got Porter, you got St. Brown. You know what I mean? Those are 3 guys that's already, and then Montgomery, not really much of a pass catcher, but he's still on the team. But there's just so much going on. But I do like Jameson Williamson. He looked good. He looked fast. So I think that St. Brown is still a wide receiver 1, but he's not no more. He was drafted like top 3.
Yeah.
So maybe he go from 3-6, 3-7. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a small hit, but not too big of a hit. I wouldn't panic.
I can see it being a week to week game script type of a thing, based on the opponent. I can see them either using Williams' speed based on who isn't out there going against him, or if he has a corner that can kind of keep up with him, I can see them using St. Brown's ability to get open in small spaces. So moving on over to tight end, Noah Fant, he's dealing with a toe injury. He's limited, so he may be able to go this week. Those toe injuries are tricky. I wouldn't want to start him this week. I would want to give him a couple of weeks if I had to start him at tight end, just because I don't want to start him and then he ends up going out in the first quarter because he reactivated that toe injury. So try to find somebody else if you can. Jordan Atkins is going to be the number one tight end for Cleveland, and Njoku is dealing with an injury. To my league mates in the Gospel Fantasy League, I would like to apologize because I forgot to change one of the settings in our league. So if a player isn't on actual injured reserve versus just being out, you can't put him in the IR spot. I meant to make that change, but now that the season has started, I might put a vote out there, but I don't really like changing rules once the season has started. But it completely slipped my mind. Every other league that I've ever been commissioner of, if you're out, you can put them on the IR spot and pick up a replacement, especially when you have a short bench. So my bad. Maybe I'll put it to a vote and see if you guys want to make that change. We'll see how that goes. But Jordan Atkins will be the number one tight end for Cleveland this week. I don't know what Cleveland is going to do. They don't really have an offensive identity, and it makes it difficult without having Chubb out there. Although Ford did decently, I mean he did well, but it kind of changes up their identity when Nick Chubb isn't out there. And I don't believe that they're ready to truly trust their quarterback in Deshaun Watson. So, again, Atkins is an emergency start if you have to find somebody. Dalton Schwartz, he missed practice dealing with an ankle injury. Foster Moreau had a concussion, but he got in a limited practice. Jake Ferguson didn't practice, but he's feeling a lot better. So the initial prognosis was that Ferguson may be out for some time. As of right now, there's a decent chance that he may actually be able to go this coming week. He was dealing with a bone bruise and a MCL sprain. Didn't really give an indication of what the grade of the sprain is, but there's optimism right now for week 2 per his head coach, Mike McCarthy. Is Ferguson a guy that, or Njoku for that matter, a guy that you may want to try to go get for next to nothing with the owner, assuming that their injuries may be, a little bit worse than what they end up being? How do you feel about those two guys?
I mean, for the news they're putting out, it's not really putting out alarming news. So those owners probably going to hold on to them, to be honest with you. If they decide to sell, then I will buy, you know what I mean? Especially Ferguson. And Njoku is just so uncertain due to the struggle of that offense. So I don't really see those people coming off of those guys. If they panic, then of course buy it. But I don't think it's gonna be that easy.
And that pretty much wraps up the news and notes. We're gonna go ahead and hop into keep, trade, cut. I'm gonna throw out a few names. Oh, actually, before we do that, is there anyone that is on your hot list right now as far as guys that people should run and go get from the waiver, maybe a week early versus a week late? We try to get y'all the information before you have to pay a premium for the guy. You might not even have to spend a waiver priority depending on how your league goes. A lot of times the waiver runs on Wednesday and then it's just open for the rest of the week and it won't even cost you a priority depending on your setting. So are there any guys that you're kind of looking ahead at right now?
Some of the guys we already spoke on, like I said, Jalen Wright. that should already be a priority as well. And also, man, don't be afraid to look ahead with defenses. That's a thing as well. Don't be one of those people that's stuck on one defense the whole year. I like to grab defenses a week, maybe 2 weeks out if I had the roster spot. I mean, right now I'm grabbing all the stock of anybody playing against Carolina.
Right.
I'm grabbing all the
Right.
stock of anybody playing against maybe the Broncos, some of these younger quarterbacks and these offenses that's not playing well. So if you have a really good defense, and they're playing against one of these type of teams, I think you should be a week ahead of that. Don't be the guy that just has the Baltimore Ravens and I'm just play them no matter who they're playing. Like I had Baltimore Ravens, they played the Chiefs. I sat them. For the Seahawks, who played the Broncos. Ta-da! The Seahawks outscored the Ravens. So be that guy. So also look ahead with those defenses again. Anyone playing against Carolina, Denver, and maybe even the Browns right now. I would look at, you know what I mean? But as far as other players at positions, some of these guys we already spoke on, you should already have them already. I tell you what, if you want to be a tricky guy, but don't be afraid to grab Michael Penix. I mean, I ain't like the way Kirk Cousins looked, to be honest with you. And with him not being able to move, he may be subject to getting injured again because he's in a spot. He can't move around. So that kind of really showed his head this past week. So he's more of a target now. So with that being said, he probably can get himself in trouble. If you want to, do things like that, don't be afraid to as well.
All right, so let's go ahead over to keep, trade, cut, and then we'll do a little bit of buy or sell. I kind of want to know your thoughts on some of the upper echelon, if you will, and whether or not you would sell them now or whether you would possibly go after them right now. But first up, keep, trade, cut. Zach Moss, what are we doing with him?
Got to keep him. At this point,
I gotta agree because you're not gonna get what he's worth by trading him. You're definitely not gonna cut him unless he gets injured. So I think with the Zach Moss situation, your best bet is to attempt to already have Chase Brown in tow. So if he does get nicked up, which Zach Moss is no stranger to injury, he's one of those running backs that just didn't tend to make it through the whole year. You already got the guy that's going to get the vast majority of the carries coming behind him. This guy, it was some interesting news that came out today. Quarterback Kyler Murray indicated that it is not his job to get the ball to Marvin Harrison. It is not his job to throw when you are not open. I don't like it when quarterbacks kind of. I don't even know what I would label that, but I didn't like it. I'll put it that way. But Marvin Harrison Jr., is he a guy that you're keeping, you're trading, or you're cutting? One catch for 4 yards, by the way.
I mean, from where you drafted him at, you got to keep him because if you do trade him, I don't think you're gonna get the value for him that from what where you picked him.
10 cents on the dollar is what you're gonna get for him, right?
Right. So for that reason, you kind of forced to keep him, and it's not only the message that came out, but it's who's saying the message, right? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it ain't the message, it's the messenger. I think if Tom Brady said this, nobody wouldn't look at it, but it's Kyler Murray, and he's that guy. Like maybe I heard Call of Duty, a new Call of Duty is about to come out. So you know what I'm saying? You never know with this dude. So at this point, you kind of forced to keep him.
Keon Coleman, 4 catches, 51 yards, the rookie with the Buffalo Bills. Keep, trade, cut.
Trade if you can. I'm not really a big cut person because I'm one of those people where if I can make $1 off of it, I'll sell it. You know what I mean? So if you can trade them, trade them. But cut or trade. Take your pick, flip a coin. But one thing I don't like about Keon Coleman, he got a good bit of targets. He led the league. He led their team in targets. but it was ugly. He's just not a dude that separates. He's a 50-50 guy. And sometimes he's gonna come down with the ball, sometimes he's not. So that he's not gonna be consistent at all. So I would say
He had
trade.
four catches for 51 yards is what he ended up with.
Yeah, no. I'm listen. As far as Buffalo's concerned, if you don't have Josh Allen, the rest of them dudes, man, because he's like I've been told you before, he's gonna play hero ball this year. And that's what we've been seeing already. Week 1, you don't have the weapons. I mean, Kincaid, we haven't. Hell, he got outplayed by Knox. It seemed, you know what I mean?
His name is coming.
Right.
His name is coming. Javonte Williams, keep trade cut. 8 carries, 23 yards, 1 catch for 0 yards.
Well, now I would say keep because Aldrick Estime has just been placed on IR. So that's a less mouth that you have to worry about coming. Jaleel played better. He didn't play well, but he probably played better than Javon. It's just probably a 2-man thing right now they got going on. I would want to hold him for another week or so just so I can see. Because it was a tough matchup. It was the Seahawks, who has, the new coach who's the defensive coordinator from the Ravens. So he probably had a nice little game plan for them. So I would want to hold off on the Javonte thing and see if that's what it is. So, yeah, I'm going to say keep him.
Devontae Adams, 5 catches for 59 yards.
Oh,
and the Raiders' offense doesn't look much better than it did last year. I don't know how long of a leash Gardner Minshew is going to have, but as of right now, their offense isn't looking very good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of have a little bit of optimism that it'll be an uptake, or is this what we're going to see unless the QB changes? Are we moving on from Adams, or are we, holding out hope?
Again, what could you going to get for him? If you can sell the name, if you can get
a
Zay Flowers, if you can get a Zay Flowers, maybe. It's probably going to be hard to get a Rashee Rice now. At one point, you probably could have because of, Devonta, way they were ranked at. But you may be forced to keep him, to be honest with you. I would say trade if you can, but he's probably going to get a quarterback change during the season. I mean, we kind of seen this last year. This dude was like second in the league in targets, but yet he finished like, wide receiver 2. The targets didn't match up to the production. Didn't have a bad year, but if you look at the amount of targets he had, he should have had a better year. So, I mean, he's not getting very many catchable balls. So it's pretty alarming to see him get 5 targets.
Justin Fields, 156 passing yards, 14 carries for 57 yards. Cheap trade cut.
Cut.
I haven't heard you say that yet tonight, so that's interesting.
Yeah, because he's not tradable.
Now, what if okay, let me give you a couple of scenarios. What if you also have Russell Wilson? Or
you're a prisoner.
If you don't have Russell Wilson, someone else has Russell Wilson. Would you attempt to work with the Russell Wilson owner?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But one way or the other, you getting rid of them. Either you cutting them, or you trying to trade them to the Russell Wilson owner, or you're going to hold them just in case Russell Wilson doesn't play. Or
if you have Russell Wilson, then you put yourself in that prison already. You knew what you was doing. You took both of them, so you already knew the prison you was in. Again, if there's a Russell owner, if you can trade it to him, that's fine. But I would cut him, trade him. He's not going to be used for his skill set. This is Arthur Smith we talking about.
Indeed.
I mean, what else need to be said? I mean, run the kid. Let him use his legs. I mean, like, he's just not putting him in position, I think, to be rewarding in fantasy. So I would say trade him, cut him.
And this is a guy that I was not high on, but higher on than most. Wan'Dale Robinson for the New York Giants. 6 catches, 44 yards, 1 carry for 14 yards. So in a PPR league, you were able to get double digits from this guy. And that's basically what I was saying for a good bit of the offseason. He's finally healthy. He's going to be probably the wide receiver that's most targeted. And
Mhm.
I kind of look at him almost the same as your boy Myers on the Raiders, the way he was last year and the way he was with the Patriots. It's not a name that pops out, but if you need a flex or if you just need a backup guy that's not going to tank your week like ever, as long as he's not hurt, the Wan'Dale Robinsons of the world and the Myers of the world are the type of guys that I would look at. But with Wan'Dale Robinson, keep Trey Cut.
Cut, man.
Cut.
He let, yeah, man. He let. I'm not. I ain't messing with Wandale because I mean, who? I mean, he's kind of connected to Daniel Jones as far as skill set wise. I mean, once Drew Lock come in, what do you think he gonna do? He gonna throw it to neighbors. I mean, I don't think. I think while Daniel Jones is at the helm, then Wandale gonna get a lot of targets. He led the team in targets, but even with the small amount of targets, neighbors had more yards. So that's letting you know right there what this offense is at.
True.
I ain't buying the Wandale thing. I mean, he gonna get the targets, but they're not gonna be good targets. Again, we spoke about Cooper Kupp, a bunch of targets, high percentage in catches, and now look at this guy. He had what 12 targets? How many catches he had?
He had 6 catches for 44 yards.
That
But
ain't it.
the 6 catches, I wouldn't say are his fault because not all targets are equal. So my
Right.
thing is this. When you speak of the Cooper Kupps of the world and wide receivers of that ilk, there's quite a bit more value assigned, but there's also quite a bit higher of a price assigned. Wan'Dale
Mhm.
Robinson might be available on the waivers right now. He just got double digits from a horrible quarterback. So what I'm saying is, if you need someone that you can put in there, when bye weeks come, when injuries come, things of that nature, especially as long as Daniel Jones is still the quarterback, which the next question coming up is going to be about Daniel Jones. But he's a guy that I can see never tanking your week because he's going to get somewhere in this neighborhood of targets, probably somewhere in this neighborhood of catches, and I can see his yards actually increasing. So that's kind of where I am with one day. You don't have to pay anything for him, but he can put up double digits, and that is hard to come by in most instances without having to make a true trade.
So would you rather have Wandale or Adam Lazard?
Wandale. I don't. Adam Lazard is one of those guys that, how would I say it? Yes, he may win you a week, but when I put you in the spot that I would be putting one of these guys in, I don't need you to win me the week. I just need you to put up points to not lose me the week. And I trust Wandale to do that, although he's probably not going to have the touchdowns that Lazard has, but he's also not going to have the weeks where you would have been better off like putting in some no name versus putting that guy in. It's going to be some weeks where Lazard like puts up like 2-3 points. I don't see that prognosis for Wandale as long as he's healthy because the role that he plays in the offense. So if you're looking at I might lose this week. I'm projected to lose. One of my top wide receivers is on bye or is hurt, and I got to swing for the fences. Then yeah, I'm going with Lazard. But if I just need a guy to not tank my week or to, someone who's just going to be a nice fill in, there's different roles even on a fantasy team. I put it that way. So it would depend on the role that I need that particular person to play. It's like the difference between your boy out in New Orleans, Rashid Shaheed, and a slot receiver, and I'm going old school here, like a Julian Edelman or somebody or Wes Welker. They probably not going to get a touchdown. So if you got to swing for the fences, if you're going against that guy in your league that's been beating everybody by 20, 30 points, you need the Rashid Shaheed guy because he may get 2 touchdowns with 120 yards on 3 catches, but he also may get 1 catch for 10 yards and not much else. So it just depends on the role that you need the person to play. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But Daniel Jones, what's the over under on the amount of weeks that he's going to still be the starter for the Giants before they bring up Drew Lock?
I'm gonna say 6.
6, okay. Look, you're more optimistic than me. I was giving him 3 weeks. If he have another week this week like he had last week, I think week 3 will be his last opportunity.
Well, they're playing Washington, so I'm giving him. I think he's gonna probably play well against Washington. We just seen Baker Mayfield have a day. Could have even actually have a better day. He missed a couple balls himself, so I think we may see Dane Jones play a little bit well this week.
But that's exactly why I say if he does have a bad week, because of the defense he's going against,
right,
you're not going to get very many more opportunities.
If he have a bad week this week, then I'm gonna say 4 weeks. But if he does well this week, I'm gonna say, like you say, over under is that's what it is. I think 6 weeks is the magic number, so I'm gonna say maybe slightly under 6 weeks.
All right, so let's move on over to buy or sell. A few guys I want to know your opinion on. Bijan Robinson. He led in touches as far as the ground games were concerned. He had 18 carries, only 68 yards, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. His longest run was for 13 yards. Tyler Algier ended up with 21 yards on 3 carries. So are we buying Robinson or are we selling Robinson? And it's either buying or selling. I guess I can give you the hold option, but
I'm gonna say buy.
Buy, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they if you watch this game, like JJ Watt was just blowing them up. Like it was not JJ Watt, was it TJ Watt?
TJ, yeah.
TJ was just
that was his assignment.
It was bad, man. Yeah. TJ looked like he the best defensive lineman in the league. You know what I'm saying? Last week. Like, it was bad. So the defense played well. So I'm gonna say bye. I'm still on Bijan for right now.
Ja'Marr Chase. He ended up with 6 catches.
6 catches.
6 targets, 6. So he caught everything that was thrown to him, but he only got 62 yards, 24 yards after the catch. He led the team with a 21% target share. He was on 89% of the routes. Is this just a New England Patriots defense thing? Do you run to try to go buy him just in case the Ja'Marr Chase owner is a little nervous? Or are you in the selling market, man?
I'm gonna buy Ja'Marr Chase. Again, he can't, like he came out and said he can't. He don't know why they ain't throwing the ball that many times. I mean, but don't forget Gonzalez is one of the best corners in this league. He's young.
Yes.
He didn't play much last year. They got Jack Jones on the other side. Like, this is a pretty decent secondary. But yeah, Gonzalez to me is one of the premier corners in this league. I know people haven't seen a lot of them do this injury last year, but don't sleep on that kid, man. He got DK this week. So I'm telling you that watch him. He a dog, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I think it's due to some of that as well. I mean, Chase hasn't been practicing, so he's probably trying to get back up to speed, and along with a great corner. So I'm still going to buy Ja'Marr Chase.
Jonathan Taylor, he was out there for 96% of the snaps. He had 16 carries for 48 yards, and he was able to score a touchdown. He only averaged 3 yards a carry. Are we buying or are we selling JT?
I'm selling JT. I like JT. I like JT, but due to the running, I think too much is being taken out of his mouth with Richardson. No different than James Cook in Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? I think with these quarterbacks being so run dominant, you can't take away from the running back per se. And for that reason, I'll sell JT. And I like him, but I think his rushing touchdown numbers would be, before the season even started, I thought that he'd be affected. So I think this past week you've seen that. They took because I mean, Richardson had what? He only had one rushing touchdown, I believe. But
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
how many carries JT had?
JT
Six.
has 16.
That's not it. That's not it. Like, no, he's supposed to have more than that.
Agreed.
So, no.
Devon Achane. Now I know he's currently injured, so his name may carry a little bit more of a 90 cent on the dollar versus a dime to the dollar, which is what most people will get when they're injured. Some people may be looking to buy him because he's injured and may be able to get him for a slightly lower price than normal. But do you feel confident in Achane at this point, or would you be wanting to sell him?
I tell you what, they use him a lot. I was surprised that like he's the guy. You know what I'm saying? I thought Mostert was still going to be the guy and he was going to be sprinkled in, but it seems like Achane is the guy.
Yeah, he had 10 carries, got 24 yards. He was averaging 2.4 yards per carry. I don't remember what that astronomical number was last year, but this year may not be last year.
Yeah, no, this is a funny thing. Buy Achane while he hot, but sell him before the trade deadline. And what I mean by that is if you look at the Miami Dolphins schedule around playoff time, it's not favorable. So if you can gas them up and people want to, give you something for them, I'll take it. But I probably want to let that bubble get a lot larger so I can get more back in return. Again, so I would say hold them, we'll buy it, but also buy it to resell at a later date. If that makes sense.
Now, this guy or this team, we talked about a little bit in the offseason, and I believe your quote was, "I'll believe it when I see it." And I think we are seeing it. Tank Bigsby had 12 carries for 73 yards. So this question actually isn't about Tank Bigsby. This question is about Travis Etienne. Are you buying him or are you selling him, seeing as how the coaches are actually, at least in week one, true to their word that they're going to run Bigsby out there quite a bit more to spell Etienne. And just so we're on the same page, Bigsby got 12 carries, Travis Etienne got 12 carries.
That's alarming.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention him. You were saying about he was one of the guys I had on my list. I'm sorry. Him and also Bucky Irving. I'm sorry, guys. Those two guys is writing on the wall. Like you said, you want to be there early. You know what I'm saying? So Bigsby and Bucky Irving, I think you want to own those guys before, because Rachaad White don't look good at all. Receiving game, he looks great. Running that ball, not so much. Same thing from last year. He had so much volume that he finished pretty high as far as fantasy goes, but he was averaging 3 yards a carry. Most of his, production came off receiving the ball, which he looks good right now doing. But Bucky Irving looked like the better runner of the two. And with Bigsby getting the same amount of carries as Etienne, alarming.
Especially in week one.
Alarming. So, yeah, Bigsby is on most free agencies right now. I'm actually going to get some of that Bigsby stock. In my league, I was looking into it. But I wanted to wait till this Thursday game pass so I can do my little do. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm a big fan of Bigsby moving forward for sure.
All right. Now, this one, it surprised me quite a bit. But we may have a debate here in Baltimore on who the starting tight end is. Are you buying or selling Mark Andrews? And are you buying or selling his counterpart, Isaiah Likely?
I'm buying them both. I'm buying Andrews because I think it's 1 week. Don't panic quite yet. He was getting doubled a good bit. Ace officer working himself back from injury and a car accident or whatever. But I mean, if you look at the rapport that Lamar and Likely have, it looks pretty promising. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually buying them both.
It reminded me of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, like that
Yeah,
12 personnel type of
yeah. And
offense.
they probably
Where both of them
and they both were on the field a good bit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm buying both. I'm buying the fear for Andrews and I'm buying the hype for Likely. So I'm actually buying both of those guys.
And with Andrews, I believe he got like 2 targets. With Likely, I want to say he got somewhere around like 10,
12.
if I'm not mistaken.
I think he had like
12.
12
Okay.
targets. There's somebody 11 or 12. It was a yeah. He caught most of them. I think he had like 11 catches.
But he was cooking.
Yeah. I mean, they had a pretty good rapport. I mean, of course, at the end of the game, the one that he stepped out, but a couple plays before that, he had him kind of in the back of the end zone as well, just a little high. But he's been getting open. I mean, because he moved like a receiver in a way, a big receiver.
I feel like he's the best wide receiver on the team, to be honest with you.
Better than Zay?
I mean, yeah.
Nah.
Well, so let me tell you. Well, better is a strong term. I feel like he'll be the most targeted because Zay is a little bit. He's a quick twitch guy. But he's a smaller guy. Like Likely is the easier target. So I can see him. I can see Jackson feeling like he's open, even if he's not open. That's what I saw. With Flowers, it has to be a play for him. With Likely, it was like, I'm gonna throw the ball up and I know you're gonna go get it, and he did. So that's why I say the better receiver. But we'll see by the end of the year. But I feel like Zay Fly. Okay, if we're gonna go, if we're looking at 12 personnel, then I'll go to the Patriots. Right, when you had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, you still had Edelman, which is who I would say Zay Flowers is a faster, smaller Edelman, but the dominance in the offense was the tight ends. And that's kind of what I feel. Well, that in the running game, it's almost a carbon copy of what the Patriots did back in the day that was very successful. You got your run, other than the fact that obviously we didn't have a running quarterback, but Nico Collins, 6 catches on 8 targets. He was the guy. 117 yards, 18 yards after the catch. He posted a team high 27% target rate. He was out there for 84% of the target. I mean, excuse me. As far as the routes run is concerned, he was out there 84% of the time on snaps. So, I mean, I know we were thinking that Diggs was going to come in, be the alpha dog, and all that good stuff. But does it make it easier for Collins with Diggs being out there than even what it was last year, and the fact that he already has a rapport with CJ? Is Nico a guy that, because of the success he had in week 1, you want to go ahead and sell him while he's riding high because Diggs is coming?
I mean, 2 things can be true, right? Nico did look like the guy, but at the same time, the alpha did show, in my opinion. He had 6 targets. He only had 6 targets. Diggs did. He caught all 6, but he had 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, Nico was the man as far as the yardage is concerned, but around that red zone, I mean, Diggs he's pretty reliable. So I think both things can be true. I think the guy on the outside looking in is Tank Dell.
Okay. He
need an injury to happen for him to get back on. He's going to be the Rashid Shaheed of this team. Like, he's going to catch that one ball here, 2, bomb, boom. But in a lot of 2 receiver sets, he was coming off the field. He's the one on the bench. So in 2 receiver sets, they was having Collins and Diggs. So I think he's.
But it makes sense though. I mean, they're more sure-handed. They're bigger guys. I mean,
but he's the one that's going to take the little small dip. But I like them both. Nico for sure. Buy Nico stock for 100%. 100%.
James Conner. He's a guy that's no stranger to injury, but when he's out there, he's out there. He rushed the ball 16 times for 50 yards, including a 20-yard run, and he also got a touchdown. Trey Benson is back up 13 yards on 3 carries. So I guess this is a 2-part question. What are we doing with Conner? What are we doing with Benson?
You're buying Conner, you're holding Conner till you get hurt. and you're holding Benson to kind of get hurt.
Enough said.
Benson is the lottery ticket. You know what I'm saying? You may not win, but you still play in hopes to win, right? And that's what Benson is. He may be a guy. He's going to be one of those guys like Corum that's going to sit in your roster spot, and he's just going to sit, and you're just hoping. And I ain't gonna say you're hoping because we don't want to see anybody get injured, but you're waiting for injury to happen. So Corum, Benson, these guys, it's really based upon injury. Guys like Bucky Irvin and Bigsby, these guys kind of kicking their way in. I don't think Benson and Corum are kicking their way in. I think an injury has to happen for them to see, the field. So, again, you buy the kind of stock. He is the bell cow of that team, but he's no stranger to injury. And if he goes down, then everything shifts to Benson. So,
guy that I have quite a bit of stock in across leagues, Rashee Rice. He ended up being Mahomes' number one target week one, catching 7 of 9 targets, 103 yards, with an impressive 78 yards after the catch. We buying, we selling. How you feeling about Rice?
What the hell what you mean? you buy and you hold. I mean, you hold Rashee to the end of the year. We've been speaking about this. We all seen Rashee coming. We know where he was, his ADP. We knew it was fluky. So you was hoping in the 5th round you could steal him. The guys that also knew it probably picked him in the 4th round early.
Sure did.
But we knew he was a better choice than Devonta Adams. We knew that. But Devonta was listed probably 10 receivers ahead of him, if not more. And everybody was just hoping that your time will come maybe in the 5th round you can steal him. So that's what everybody's trying to do, steal this guy. And week 1 showed, man, he's the slant demon because they've been just running slants all game, like just running across the middle, bunch of slants. He's probably going to lead this team in targets. And he's going to get a lot of that yak. He's catching those slants and running with it. So, you buy. I highly doubt the Rice owner is selling. So it's probably not for sale. You know what I'm saying? But you buy and you hold. If you have them, you hold. You don't trade them.
Agreed. Now, 2 more guys up. Jayden Reed, wide receiver for Green Bay. This is kind of tricky based on the fact that Jordan Love is currently injured.
Yeah.
Please don't expect from Malik Willis what you got from Jordan Love. But as far as Jayden Reed is concerned, do you wait until he has Malik Willis for a week or two, if that ends up happening, and then try to go for him? If you're the person with him, do you try to go ahead and sell him now, knowing what is likely to happen over the next 2-3 weeks, just depending on what happens with Jordan Love?
Man, I'm selling. To be honest with you, I'm selling Jayden Reed. I mean, because he's not going to go out there and get you another 40 or 30-something points that he did. So if you do have someone that has a wide receiver that didn't have quite the day, let's think about somebody.
Devontae Adams?
Yeah, I'll take Devontae if somebody want to do that.
Oh, I got
somebody like a Chris Godwin, to be honest with you. I like Chris Godwin a little bit more than I like, because he's going to be more consistent. I think he's going to just cruise at a nice altitude all season long. For a guy like Reed, it's going to be because they have so many receivers on their team. You know what I mean? So Dobbs is going to have a big week. Watson's going to have a big week. Wicks is going to have a big week. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I think a guy like Chris Godwin, who's going to pretty much cruise, he had 8 targets, 8 catches, 80 some odd yards and touchdown. I think he's going to just cruise all season long. So I would take a guy like him as well over Reed, me personally.
And lastly on the list, Baker Mayfield had a career day, 4 touchdowns, passing for 289 yards. Do we think that Mayfield has turned the corner and now he's one of those guys that you hold? And or is it you're never going to see this game again this year? And if you can get more for him than he should be worth, you go ahead and move him down the road? Or how are you feeling about Baker?
I think you hold them, man. But we kind of spoke about this in old episodes. The coordinator that came over from the Rams, Baker, when Baker showed those flashes when he was at the Rams, he was the coordinator over there. Baker, that's what actually got Baker paid. Remember, we spoke about that. The way he kind of flashed a little bit in with the Rams, leading to going in Tampa Bay. It's the same system. So I think he's just in the right situation. We've seen his coordinator go to Carolina from last year, but he just jumped back into a better situation. He had a good season last year, but he got into a better situation this year. Mike Evans still playing at a Hall of Famer rate. Like I said, I just spoke about Godwin. Rachaad White, great receiver coming out the backfield. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like Baker, and he will run a little bit, not much, but he will run a little bit as well. So yeah, I think you should buy and hold Baker for sure.
And that will pretty much wrap it up for today. Make sure you guys check out the Saturday show, where we will pretty much be going over sports in general. And then the Tuesday show will be a live show as far as YouTube and Facebook is concerned. And then we'll make sure that we get the that live put out here in podcast land for you guys as well. Probably Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, somewhere around there. So look out for that as well. Again, we'll be at the Gospel STP on YouTube and the Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group. For today, we out. And remember, tell the truth.